I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in silence, then let them in, chalk up their body, another one body, that's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, how to stay on the go. I can play with the pros and act like a rookie, so they overlook me, then I double up again under their nose. None of them cold, they just got lucky but never adapted, so I'm to one if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close, I let them think that they got me, but what do you know? I had them beat before we ever spoke, I'm ready for smoke. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now they ain't go harder than me, they need a blade in a sheath, a shank in a piece, a crate full of heat, an army, a fleet, a tank in a jeep, a navy at sea, with ace a marine, an ace up their sleeve, a team of marines, a freak on a leash, a beast with an appetite, razor for teeth, and still they will lay at my feet. Boy, you got the wrong one. I gotta look over all of my publishing statements for Q1 as soon as the song's done. I gotta call up my mama and tell her I made it as soon as my log's done. I gotta read all my trade publications and sip my tea till it is all done. I think it's all fun. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in silence, then let them in, chalk up their body, another one body, that's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, how to stay on the go. I can play with the pros and act like a rookie, so they overlook me, then I double up again under their nose. None of them cold, they just got lucky but never adapted, so I'm to one if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close, I let them think that they got me, but what do you know? I had them beat before we ever spoke, I'm ready for smoke. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now they ain't go harder than me, they need a blade in a sheath, a shank in a piece, a crate full of heat, an army, a fleet, a tank in a jeep, a navy at sea, with ace a marine, an ace up their sleeve, a team of marines, a freak on a leash, a beast with an appetite, razor for teeth, and still they will lay at my feet. Boy, you got the wrong one. I gotta look over all of my publishing statements for Q1 as soon as the song's done. I gotta call up my mama and tell her I made it as soon as my log's done. I gotta read all my trade publications and sip my tea till it is all done. I think it's all fun. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in silence, then let them in, chalk up their body, another one body, that's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, how to stay on the go. I can play with the pros and act like a rookie, so they overlook me, then I double up again under their nose. None of them cold, they just got lucky but never adapted, so I'm to one if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close, close. I let them think that they got me, but what do you know? I had them beat before we ever spoke. I'm ready for smoke. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where. I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George. I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse. I'm ready for war. I'm coming for throats. To turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now they ain't go harder than me. They need a blade in a sheath, a shank in a piece, a crate full of heat, an army, a fleet, a tank and a jeep, a navy at sea, where they submarine, an ace up their sleeve, a team of marines, a freak on a leash, a beast with an appetite, razor for teeth, and still they would lay at my feet. Boy, you got the wrong one. I gotta look over all of my publishing statements for Q1 as soon as the song's done. I gotta call up my mama and tell her I made it as soon as my log's done. I gotta read all my trade publications and sip my tea till it is all done. I think it's all fun. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where. I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George. I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse. I'm ready for war. I'm coming for throats. To turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where. I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George. I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse. I'm ready for war. I'm coming for throats. To turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where. I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George. I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse. I'm ready for war. I'm coming for throats. To turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in silence, then let them in, talk up their body, another one body, that's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, how to stay on the go. I can play with the pros and act like a rookie, so they overlook me, then I double up again under their nose. None of them cold, they just got lucky but never adapted, so I'm to the one if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close, I let them think that they got it.
Hanging with the boys, man, they're part of the team. Part of the team, man. Can I tell you, part of the team?
Welcome to Tampa Bay. We buck 'em up when we raise the flag. Fire the cannons and seize the day. The crew's ready, all hands on.
It is October 12th, 2022, and you guys are watching the Loose Cannons. I am your host, Sammer, solo tonight, but I brought a beautiful guest along, Kasey Hudson, Bucs and Bolts reporter. She knows her shit, guys. She's not just beauty. She knows way more shit than we do. That's why she's on the show. Kasey, welcome back to the Loose Cannons. How you doing?
Oh, I'm so glad to be back. I thought that I was banned because of how I eat chicken wings. I'm probably threw myself under the bus even bringing that up so early, but yeah. I never thought I was going to get the invitation to come back to Loose Cannon. So I am excited to be here. I'm glad that you guys had me back. I tried to change my ways, but eating without a fork just doesn't feel right. So hopefully your face. You're like, yeah, we can shut this show down already.
I didn't want you to bring it up at the very beginning because now we have to kind of end the show. For those of you who do not know what the fuck she's talking about in the chat, or if you're new to the show, we'll get to it later because I don't want to upset myself right now. I'm kind of in a good mood.
That's true. Let's not start on a weird note.
Yeah, exactly. So, Kasey, you know football a little bit more than we do. You actually cover shit. We just talk nonsense and whatnot. So the Bucs, coming off of a weird win that felt like a loss, are going up to Pittsburgh. We're facing a team in the Steelers who just got absolutely destroyed, absolutely picked apart by Josh Allen and the very good Bills offense. But they're still coached by one Mike Tomlin, who I don't believe has ever had a losing season as a head coach. And he instills pride and grit. The guys in that locker room listen to him year in, year out. They are completely willing to, run through walls for this guy. So we are going to be facing a team, I assume, with probably a little bit of pride, wanting to kind of avenge what they put on the field for their coach, if for nothing else but to kind of make him feel better because he's dad over there, right? So I have to ask you, what are we going to see out of the Steelers? Like, what are the Bucs going to get out of this team that has, been up and down, doesn't really look very good at times, looks really good, but now that they have Kenny Pickett in there, looks like maybe they're, probably fighting for a top 5 draft spot. So what exactly are we getting ourselves into? What should we expect this Sunday?
I would definitely say absolutely no way in hell can this team go out there and not play 4 quarters against this team. You're going to see a lot of desperation. And what's great is that I get a chance to do another show called Sunday Spread on BetQL. And the two guys that I get to work with, Alex Gold and Grant Paulson made a good comment about if you're 3-4 weeks into the season and you're playing a desperate team, there's a really easy way for that desperate team to flip the odds and kind of take ownership there. So for them to let off the gas in the fourth quarter versus the Falcons, and then to now face a desperate Steelers team, it could be scary if they don't come out and correct a lot of the mistakes that they've made. It's week 6. It's time to kind of really step into a more mature play calling situation, correct those mistakes. Don't go out there with the same, making the same stupid calls as you have before. And that's nothing against Byron Leftwich. It's just, I don't know how many games you have to come out and conduct and piece together somewhat predictable offense all day Lenny and think that you're going to get somewhere. So the biggest thing would be them installing something that's not typical. What I did like initially versus the Falcons when they came out in the first quarter is that it felt like more of a balanced attack. You saw some passing, you saw some running, and you saw them kind of try to even out that distribution there, even though we did still see that back-to-back Lenny handoff. And I love Leonard Fournette, but it drives me nuts because I don't play football, guys. I'm never going to pretend like I've suited up a day in my life. But if I'm playing defense, and I see you hand it off to Leonard Fournette and 9 out of 10 times you go back to doing that, it becomes very predictable and it puts them in a bad position. And I know it seems obvious, run the ball because you have this fragmented offensive line, but I don't think that's the answer because the hype that surrounded this team was this loaded wide receiver room. While they haven't all been healthy and Mike Evans gets suspended versus the Saints, there's still things that only Mike Evans can do. Chris Godwin put on a hell of a performance versus the Falcons, and I think that they can probably rely on him a little bit more and take him off of a snap count, but I would not underestimate the Steelers. Now, granted, I know that their offense is a bit of a dumpster fire right now. The best thing that they have going for them is Minkah Fitzpatrick on their defense. And other than that, you're talking about a team that doesn't really load up in the sack column. Their pass rush isn't really there, which is something that this Bucs team can take advantage of. Definitely cannot go into Pittsburgh in home territory to a desperate team that's 1-4 and just kind of, flail.
So should we expect? I mean, they lost what it was like 38-3 or what? I don't even remember. It was
38-3.
It was like 38-3.
They didn't even get a touchdown.
And I think that's what the score was at halftime. Possibly, they gave up a 98-yard touchdown at one point. The Bills did basically whatever the fuck they wanted. The Bucs have receivers. The Bucs have the GOAT. Is this Steelers team gonna be up for this game because of Tom Brady? And again, the fact that they were kind of embarrassed. Now they're at home. I don't know if that happened at home or in Buffalo. I thought it was a Buffalo game.
Yeah.
So are they going to try to kind of rebound, or should we expect, as Bucs fans, from a standard and also from seeing what they did, should we expect an absolute offensive explosion against what is considered a pretty bad fucking team right now in the Steelers?
Yeah, this is, if you're going to prove anything to anybody right now, the Bucs need to go in there and completely destroy the Steelers. And I know that the Bills are the Bills. Josh Allen is a tight end and a quarterback's body. He's a whole different force of nature to deal with. And obviously that's not Tom Brady. Tom Brady's skill set is elite for his own personal reasons. But with that said, this team, the leading tackler had 5 tackles. That's disgusting for a team. I mean, let's be serious. 5 tackles an entire game. You're talking 4 quarters and your top tackler has 5. That's so gross. So yeah, a lot of it is contributed to the fact that Josh Allen is this monster that plays quarterback and he breaks through tackles like, a tight end. But with this offensive line, Tom Brady's release, as quick as it is, he should be able to completely destroy this defense as well. Obviously not making quick mistakes because Fitzpatrick wants to contend with, our very own Carlton Davis as being one of the best CBs in the league, but, he'll make anybody pay for any mistakes that they make, but the matchups here don't even count. I mean, you got Wallace, you got Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick's the biggest guy that they have to be concerned about. So they really can actually finally spread the ball against this Steelers defense. TJ Watt had his pec issue. So a lot of the formidable guys that they even had aren't even a part of this team at the moment. So there's no reason that this offense can't go out there and completely just annihilate the Steelers and finally have some success in the red zone. And okay, maybe if I'm not being too dramatic, if there's one thing we can ask of this team and just see what translates the best is don't you dare go to Pittsburgh and have 1,000 3 and outs and not be able to function on third down.
Okay, so they've obviously made it a point to establish the run, it seems, every single game this season, whether it's worked out or not worked out, whether they've had to abandon it or not, like they did against the Chiefs, which I thought was actually a better game plan. Against the Falcons, they seem to play more into the set up the run using the pass approach.
Yeah.
Going against the Steelers, are the Steelers a pretty shit? Are they good against the run? Are they stout against the run? Is that where the Bucs might kind of fall in love with handing the ball off to Lenny again, because it will work? Because in Dallas, he had a fucking good game. They ran the ball pretty damn well, even after Donovan went out with his elbow injury. So are the Steelers a team that they might look at on paper or on tape and be like, we can still run the ball against these guys, and maybe we should just continue to do what we're doing on that regards? Or are they going to take a page out of what the Bills did and kind of attack what they saw already work? Or is it kind of be in the middle of kind of an average of both of those things as an approach?
See, this is where I think that they would be smart to take a more balanced approach, not because one or the other is going to work better. As I previously mentioned, they're not one of those teams that's in the conversation of having this great pass rush. The Bucs have definitely faced better and somewhat managed in some ways over the other. So for one, if they want to give Lenny a heyday, they can. If I'm putting my coaching hat on, which some people are going to hate this, but it's fine. We love to disturb the peace, right? If I put a coaching hat on, I want to use this game to get Lenny some reps, give Rachaad White some confidence, let him get some yards underneath him and figure out how he can contribute besides, just being thrown out for pass catching here and there. And they started to kind of groom him a little bit versus the Falcons. And it was him and Cade Otton that finally paved the way to give this offense some life. So I feel like this is a good chance to feed into what can Rachaad White really do? How developed is he so far? What can Cade Otton do? Training camp, I loved this kid. And I said it from the beginning, he's going to end up having a larger role as a rookie than we all anticipate. And I feel like this is a game to figure out, okay, is that all talk or can he really do it? Cameron Brate fully practiced today, so I'm sure he'll be back in the lineup because he was just out for concussion protocol. I've been screaming it since day one. These tight ends need to be way more involved. So I feel like they have an opportunity here to have a balanced attack and really learn some things about themselves so that when they do go up against a more formidable defense, they're not running the same old BS. Because now they realize
you can curse. I know you don't know how to eat wings and you don't know anything about proper utensil usage, but you can absolutely curse on this show. Don't say
bullshit,
BS.
Guys.
There you
go.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
It's free, right? Feels
yeah.
good, right? Yeah, there you go.
Therapeutic.
I know.
This is going to be like the only thing that you loop and run from this show.
Absolutely.
Catch the Steelers and Bucs preview. Kasey says bullshit 100 times.
We'll just turn it into a fucking animated GIF. Bullshit. It'd be great.
Can you just use me for whenever a bad play gets called?
Yeah.
Turn me into a meme?
You might want to watch the phrasing on the show also when you say things. Just FYI.
Oh, whatever. Anyway, back to my little coach's corner, Coach Case here. I think that it would be kind of stupid of them not to try to take a balanced approach to the Steelers because they can finally figure out a little bit more about their younger players that they're obviously trying to groom and prepare to take on a larger role in this system. But if they get to the point where they're panicking and they just want that W and they want to protect Tom Brady and this offensive line and Luke Gadecki, then they're going to go and try to run it down their throat with Leonard Fournette. I think that's a given.
I'm hoping that they utilize Cade Otton's size, not only on from a blocking standpoint, but make him run those seam routes that you saw with Gronk and have him go up the middle and kind of force Minkah Fitzpatrick to be the guy who takes him out of the play.
Fights
then
the
opens
bait.
up, then it opens it up for everybody around him. And, Chris Godwin can kind of get to work because I don't watch the Steelers. So I don't know how often they take Minkah and put him on an actual wide receiver or slide him in a nickel like we do with Antoine. But I feel like he's more of a traditional safety, maybe a little bit of a John Lynch type of role where he's helping with run support. But most of the time, I feel like he's going to be responsible for that tight end. I don't see a linebacker on their team that's going to possibly go up against his size because he's a big fucking boy and he got going last week. And I feel like that may be a sign of some shit coming up. And I feel like if they can utilize him to kind of bait Minkah out of the play, and then you got guys underneath, you got Mike Evans and who can switch into that role with Godwin as well. But I feel like they're going to start to figure out how to kind of open things up. This will be a good game to see that happen against, especially after what the Bills fucking did to them.
Oh, yeah. And I love that you even mentioned that because that's part of where Kadon can contribute heavily, but it's also the fact that he can help finally make some plays happen over the middle of the field. That middle of the field has just kind of been a construction zone. It's been terrible to try to make a play happen there. And yeah, that's where you typically saw Gronk, go off. Middle of the field, throw it, let him get those extra yards because he's strong as shit. But now, if you can start grooming Cade Otton to be a conductor in the middle of the field there, and I think he showed that he's capable of it last week. I think he had 1, maybe 2 drops, but you're talking about a rookie who missed a game already, missed some practices, and has come in and been an asset in one way or another. And what I would love to see too is a lot more 2 or 3 tight end sets here. Keith, I think he can be so destructive in the red zone if they would just kind of play into the fact that he blocks like a psychopath, which you love to see, but he's had some nice little random catches.
Anytime they run behind him, it's 5 yards. Anytime they run behind him, it's 5 yards. And it was like that in Dallas. It was like that against the Saints. And then they kind of like veered away from it. I understand against the Packers, maybe they were trying to get back in the game, but too often it's that shotgun handoff to Lenny who, listen, I think that play is probably better suited for Rachaad White because Rachaad has the ability to stop and go and hit his speed kind of right off the bat. Whereas, kind of like a James White, the guys that, traditionally played shotgun next to Tom. Whereas Lenny, no offense to Lenny, he's not very fast. And when he is fast, it's usually when he's already gotten going downhill. He's more of a locomotive. Having him in shotgun and handing the ball off to him, very rarely is he going to get to top speed unless he makes 3 or 4 tackles miss or there's a massive hole if he fucking hits the hole, of course. And at that point, you're like, just line him up behind KO. We call him KO on this show, by the way. Line up behind KO and just fucking knock some motherfucking teeth out. And I do want to see that. But when you say balanced, I have to disagree with you in one sense. I think balanced, I don't like the whole we should run the ball 25 times and throw the ball 25 times. I don't give a fuck about that shit. I totally agree with BA's approach. But when they run the ball, it should be a balanced attack in terms of production and how effective it is. So the efficiency should be balanced. And I'm hoping that's what you mean, but I'm going to have to question you to make sure that's what you mean because I don't know. You might be one of those old school Tony Dungy people that's
it's not what I mean, so we're going to agree to disagree.
You want to run the ball as many times as you throw the ball?
I mean, not completely like even kill, but you can't sit here and go back to back to back to back throws and burn out Lenny or just kind of abuse that or make yourself super predictable when you can kind of, go for 2 runs and then pass the freaking ball. But when they do this whole 2-run, 3-run thing and then 3 and out, it's just stupid. So what I mean by more of a balanced attack is just strategizing better when to run the ball, when to pass the ball. And I know that sounds so stupid in sense of like, well, obviously that's a coach's job. Yeah. But again, how obvious is it that typically it's going to go to Lenny at least 2 or 3 more times before they decide to switch to somebody else? I just kind of feel like they're leaving themselves out to dry and be predictable where the even attack there would be, go to freaking Chris Godwin, who started to do well. He might be on a snap count, but choose those reps, really particularly. If you know that Chris Godwin was a guy that could really get those yards after catch, then the freaking ball needs to go to Godwin on 3rd down. And then the next one, don't run it, pass it again, and then run it. So it's just more a balanced attack for me is just being more strategic because it doesn't feel like there's any strategy behind it. Sometimes it just feels like they're just going out there doing the same old thing, hoping for fingers crossed for a different result here sometimes. But as talented as this offensive roster is, the 3 and outs last week was disturbing. Yeah, I don't care who's injured and who's not injured. You're not making any progress as an offense. Your only touchdowns was Lenny running in the ball against the Falcons. And before that, you put up 31 against the Chiefs, but you couldn't find the end zone for 2 weeks. I think one of the most talented rosters in the league.
But I think some of that too comes down to Byron is still learning. I know people keep saying that he's been a quarterback a lot of his time, and he's not been in an offensive strategy room behind the scenes like other offensive coordinators have. Not as long, at least. And I think some of it is him learning what his guys can do, what they can't do, what his limitations are with certain guys. And I don't think he yet has a full Chris Godwin at times, but I will also say that sometimes we also don't know what they called and what that is supposed to look like, and if they don't execute, they just don't execute. And like there's many times where Lenny just doesn't hit the hole, and at that point we're like, Byron, why the fuck did you run it up the fucking gut on 2nd down? Because Lenny missed the fucking hole, as opposed to if he goes the right way, it's 1st down. It's not 3rd and 3 again instead of 2nd and 3. All that stuff kind of compounds itself, and
You're right.
I've been the guy to complain about offensive coordinators plenty in my past. Even when Byron first got here, I was like, what the fuck are we doing right now? None of this shit makes sense. But then by year end, it was fucking clicking, and they were starting to get it. And I feel like going against a Steelers team like this, team that really isn't going to threaten Tom Brady pressure-wise, I don't think, unless they kind of focus on Gadecki, which a lot of people have, and he's gone through kind of a gauntlet as a rookie, facing extremely talented defenses and defensive lines. I mean, it's Chris Jones in his, like, fourth fucking game of the season, of his career. Sorry, not the season. Fourth game of his fucking career. That's not a fucking easy task. I get that shit. And he's going against that asshole with the fucking weird magician fucking beard and shit in New Orleans. I mean, so a lot of that shit, you're like, okay, there's a lot of shit these guys are got to swallow. So I take what you're saying with a little bit of grain of salt, because there is also some of that, you know, the other side of that coin. But I will agree.
So let's meet in the middle here.
Stacking plays for Byron is something that he still hasn't quite grasped. And it's something that BA knows. It's something that a Sean Payton knows, a McVay knows, a Shanahan knows. But again, I don't know if it's just because he doesn't know what he has yet, what he can trust, or if, you know, because Chris Godwin is the motor, you know that, for this offense. And we don't have him yet. We don't have him to his fullest potential yet. And without him, I feel like we're just still going to be struggling. And especially, like you said, the middle of the field, that's where Chris Godwin used to live. And
right and Gronk.
And he can't right now. And Gronk's not here. I don't know if they got cut. They had Cade maybe run 2 routes last week across the middle. I think he dropped one of those. Hit him right in the fucking hands. Got to catch it, dude. So I think until they get Godwin all the way, I don't know how to criticize them fully.
Okay, so we're going to meet in the middle here, because you made a great point. Fans would go nuts if Lenny would punch that hole and make a successful first down with some of the calls that we initially feel like we hate. But isn't that where you, as a coach, take what you saw in training camp? We're in week 6.
I agree.
Week 6. So at that point, wouldn't you kind of want to give Rachaad White more of that opportunity, because his vision is a little bit sharper? He's a little more shifty, and due to his weight and speed, he could probably conquer that hole and that gap a lot better. Because Leonard Fournette, while he's powerful, and I love to see him lower his shoulder, that's exciting for me.
Doesn't do it very often.
Right. So it feels like they're constantly relying on that play of, like, you know, oh, well, Lenny's going to lower his shoulder and bulldoze over. Well, how many times did we see him get completely just eaten in the gap there? And then you're gassing this guy out because he's trying to fight for those extra yards, where you can probably use Rachaad White in that instance and let him minimize himself, get through that gap and push it up.
But sometimes he's pushing because he just misses the hole. Whereas Rachaad White, if you noticed, they put him in on 2nd and 1, got fucking 8 yards. And they ran there, and they're not running anything exotic or anything special when he comes in, different than when Lenny's doing it. So when Lenny it's taken out and Rashaad's in there, you're like, you should just probably hit the hole like the youngster's doing there, which maybe is because he doesn't know what he doesn't know. So he's young. He's fucking giving it 1,000% every fucking time he touches the ball. But it felt like he was trying. I don't know. Maybe he just hit the hole and it looks better because he hit the hole and Lenny didn't. And at times you're like, Lenny, why are you turning around and shoving your, putting your back in the defender? This sounds like we're kind of ragging on Lenny today, but we're not. But
we're not.
I'll let you finish your point, and then we'll kind of go on to something else. But.
Okay, so where I'm saying I agree is that you mentioning if they swapped out Rachaad White and they got the first down, this conversation would probably not be so dramatic. But to the degree in which you kind of talk about, he's not Shanahan, he's not Sean Payton, he's not all these other guys. How much more time? Because what we did see, and where I gave Byron Leftwich some credit, is they kind of had a slow start in 2020. They had that miserable loss to the Bears that really supercharged them to get, you know, over a hump and load them up for the rest of the season to get to a freaking Super Bowl. But now here we are, 2022. You've got a lot of the same guys, a lot of the same weapons. How much more of a learning curve does Leftwich need?
I don't think it's a learning curve as much in terms of being an offensive coordinator. It's more of a game planning, a strategy type of thing, and just, again, stacking those plays and just understanding how to structure plays back, you know, and how to set plays up later on in the game, maybe because, again, lack of experience. But more or less, he's learning his team right now. And, like I said, without a Chris Godwin there to run, like, he's literally the engine of this offense. He's the Hines Ward. He's the Larry Fitzgerald. He has to be there at his full capacity in order for this team to really function properly on offense, which sounds like a fucking bullshit excuse because you have Tom Brady, you have Mike Evans, but they have different skill sets and they need him to do what he does. They don't need Julio Jones right now. No offense. But if Chris Godwin is functioning, they don't need anybody but Mike and Chris. That's all they need, because everyone else at that point is going to be open because of what they bring to the table. And they miss Gronk, but they can adjust. It's not like Tom didn't ever win without Gronk and didn't adjust without Gronk, although it was in Boston. It was with a different coaching staff, and it was with McDaniel, who changed his team basically week in and week out, just like Belichick was doing on the other side of the ball. But, I mean, again, it's one of those things where I feel like the Steelers game, a struggling defense, a team that is basically not going to get to Tom as long as Tom, the offensive line does their job and does what they're supposed to do. I feel like they can kind of start to open things up and maybe experiment with a few things. I'd love to see them get a lead and start to fuck around. I'd love to see them get a lead and just start fucking around with this team. Just like fucking, hey, see what the fuck we can do with this guy here. And just run a wheel route, like out of the backfield with Rachaad White. Just fucking throw it to him. See what happens. I'd love to see that. Like, I missed that. That play that we used to run with Michael Pittman was amazing. And teams still run that play, but I still think they haven't opened it up a little bit. Maybe this is the game they can do that, and they can have a little fun.
Yeah, you and I completely agree. Now, just really quickly to stay on the running backs for 2 seconds, because I want to pick your brain on this. I've talked to my co-host about it a couple of times, but what do you see from your perspective as to why they're not dressing out Keyshawn Vaughn or using him? And he had a pretty good training camp. So why is it just the Lenny show and the Rachaad White inching in show, and then you have no Keyshawn Vaughn? And Gio Bernard would have been a part of this if he wasn't always injured.
Yeah.
So why is it just on the two? What is it that Rachaad White is supposed to do better than Keyshawn Vaughn?
The only thing that I can possibly hypothesize for that is that they don't trust him yet in pass pro, which is huge for BA. And again, it's Tom Brady. Like, you can't let Tom Brady get hit. You can't let Tom Brady get roughed by the defensive. You can't let him do that. Okay. So I think that's 45. What it is. And what's crazy is towards the end of the last season in the Philadelphia Eagles game, he had to be a starter, or he had to play 50-50 role, and he did pretty fucking well. Even though prior to that in games he did not. He didn't do very well last year as a whole, but he kind of started to look really good in the playoffs, and then he had a good preseason. He looked good in camp, all that. But I think it's still one of those things that if Tom looks at the coaches and says, I don't know if this guy's going to always protect me the way I want. And Rachaad has clearly earned Tom's trust because he has him right next to him. He has him picking up blitzes. And he had a blitz pick up against Atlanta. I was like, it almost brought tears to my fucking eye. It was great. I was like, this is what we need. If he's doing that, it means he's going to see the field more. So that's the only thing I can think of is that they don't yet trust him, and Tom doesn't yet trust him to always pick up that blitz. He's also not as big as the other guys, right? Picking up a blitzing linebacker or a big-ass safety is a little bit more of a challenge for as opposed. Gio's not big either.
That'll turn into a dirty dancing move real quick.
And Gio's a vet, so Gio's got a little bit more savviness to it, whereas Keyshawn probably doesn't. So Rashaad's a bigger guy. He's tall. Lenny's Lenny. He's a beefy guy. He's got a good stout bottom half. So I feel like that it's got to be that. I don't know if it's anything else because at times when he does play sporadically, he does make plays. So it's got to be. That's my only possible explanation. Also, this is the first time a guest asks me a question on my own show. This is great. I'm now the guest.
I was about to say, I got more questions for you when I'm rolling. I'm like, while we're on the subject, let's pivot to defense. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
you steer the ship. I'm just here to convince people to eat chicken wings with a fork and keep your hands clean.
No, your propaganda, your fucking utensil-based propaganda stays at home, not on this fucking show. It's unbelievable. But
I'm going to plug it at random. Name a good player. I'll tell you that they eat chicken wings with a fork. Hall of Famers only. Tom Brady. You think he uses his hands?
Tom Brady doesn't eat wings, so out of the question. So let me focus here on the defensive side of the ball. We've talked a lot about our offense going against their shit team. So we struggled this year, specifically after Akeem Hicks came out of the starting lineup due to injury.
I know.
We struggled stopping this run. It looks like teams are getting 5, 6, 7 yards a clip no matter what, whether they're ahead or not ahead. The fucking Falcons, they moved the ball down the field strictly on run plays until the 2-point conversion. So I have to ask you, as you know, since you know shit that we don't know, and I don't watch any tape right now, we're facing a team in the Steelers that has a rookie quarterback, so they're more than likely going to lead on the run game, which they have a pretty decent running back, in my opinion. I don't know how good their offensive line is. I don't watch their games. Is this the game that the Bucs figure this out, kind of pin their ears and focus on stopping the run? 2 bad weeks in a row, I feel like, in terms of their run defense, or are we still going to see them struggle and just kind of end up winning the game just simply because they're going against a rookie quarterback, or are they going to finally fucking figure this out and stop Hilaire, or should we even be scared of him at this point? Because again, I'm not watching games. I liked him coming out of college. He didn't get drafted by us, but should we be scared of the Steelers being able to run the ball effectively?
Great question. Their top running back, Jaylen Warren, was only able to get 1 carry for 24 yards, rushing yards against the Bills, but it's the Bills. That defense is a huge conversation of being the best in the league right now.
Number one defense last year.
So the shutdown there is obvious. Here's my concern when it comes to the Bucs defense. And a couple weeks ago, I would have argued that they're one of the best defenses in the NFC. And then, you don't see him play for 4 quarters, and that's kind of concerning. With that said, Kenny Pickett still put up 327 yards against the Bills. Was he able to get a touchdown out of that? No. But to do 327 yards as a rookie and only get 1 interception, and you're playing the freaking Bills, I would not go in underestimating this kid. And then he also racked up 10 rushing yards.
But the Bills also were without a lot of their starting defensive backs. Keep that in mind.
Which makes that even more problematic. We're talking about a rookie that threw for 327 yards and 1 interception. So
facing a few backups and a couple rookies, though. But go ahead. I'll let you. I just wanted to add that it wasn't going against the best of their secondary. That's what
you don't have Poyer and some of those other guys that'll really make you pay for it. You're totally right. But I'm just saying, if the Bucs don't go in with their heads on straight, they can look like a second string defense really quick.
Okay.
Then you've got. Well, SMB, it's kind of embarrassing to even mention him. No offense to SMB, but he's got the quad injury. Then you've got Carlton Davis that came out with a hip injury versus the Falcons, and there's not much of an update on where they're at. Then you have Logan Ryan, who's been out too. So you're kind of dwindled down on this Bucs secondary as well. So unless Antoine Winfield Jr. decides he's going to go in and have another heyday because football is fun, then if you go in here and blink, Kenny Pickett can potentially, make you pay for it. As for the run game, I don't see them being able to completely get a run game going. What I will say that I appreciate and love about this Bucs defense is that shame on you if you think you're going to embarrass them more than once. And while they had 3 shutout quarters versus the Falcons initially, it's that 4th quarter that they got lax and had no business getting bored versus the Falcons, that they now have to kind of come in with a chip on their shoulder and say, hey, joke's on you guys. We can play 4 quarters of football. And I definitely take into account the fact that offense leans on them quite a bit. When you're having a bunch of 3 and outs, then your defense is on the field way too much. It's fatigue. Maybe Devin White didn't want to call it fatigue, but if they come in here with a chip on their shoulder, whatever, then they can have a heyday with this. There's no reason that Devin White can't have 1 to 2 sacks. Shaq Barrett was pretty quiet versus the Falcons, and a mobile Mariota. He needs to come in here and, unfortunately, work out some demons against Kenny Pickett. That's just kind of how it rolls out. Then you've got JTS, who's coming off of, some quality sacks and pass rushes. So he needs to build off of that performance. What?
I was saying we love quality sacks on this show.
We go.
When our full roster of hosts is on here, 3 quality sacks, absolutely, for sure.
Right, bare
100%.
Minimum. This team should be loading up. I don't even know if that's a safe sentence to say with you.
I was saying when we have the full roster of hosts on this show, we have 3 quality sacks. Go ahead with your point, though.
I don't know if that slightly went over my head or if I just just ignored it.
Yep, the sack joke went over your head, which, again,
we'll never know.
Another sack joke. There it is.
I'm not confirming or denying. We will never know. Anyway.
You're pitching these. I'm just fucking killing them right now. Go ahead.
I didn't want you to feel that naked without your counterparts, so I'm going to let you.
This is a sternum up type show, so.
You guys want a picture? What do you think? No, I'm kidding. Anyway, JTS. I think that he's going to want to build off of last week. This is a kid who there was a big expectation as to what he would do. And he's been kind of wavering the first couple of weeks. Now he's starting to hopefully finally find his rhythm there and wrap up, kid. So did you want to use that as a punchline?
Oh, that was great. But continue. I'm like, you're getting into it now. You're really becoming a loose cannon. I kind of like this a lot.
I got a little loose cannon inside me. But yeah, Shaq Barrett needs to show up.
You can't keep doing that.
No, that's terrible. Okay.
You keep doing it.
Shaq Barrett needs to show up. Enough of you. Shaq Barrett needs to show up. Devin White needs to pay for his commentary and post game, whether he meant it as dramatic as everybody took it or not. I love to see an Antoine Winfield Jr. sack. Take that as you will. And the secondary, they need to have some picks. It's time to get some interceptions. We kind of started to see a little glimmer of their capability of doing that. Then all of a sudden with the Falcons, that was whatever. And Logan Ryan can't be your only guy that forces turnovers. So feeling him being out, it shouldn't be that significant, even though it's awesome that he's really versatile. And what I would love to see, and maybe this is high hopes, Keanu Neal. I need to see this guy live by the name Thumper. He's supposed to be a heavy hitter. This is a team where he should really be loading up on the tackles and contributing on the tackle stat sheet. So,
I mean,
can the Bucs defense do it? Yeah.
He's had a few decent hits. I feel like also he's still feels
special
a little
teams
bit,
almost mostly though.
Yeah, but he got to play. I think the last 2 weeks he's been in there on defense because of Logan Ryan being out, but it also feels a little bit like he's still learning the defensive scheme as a whole, and so he feels a little bit out of place. He's missed a couple tackles too. But going back to when you mentioned Carlton Davis, full participation today, he seems like he's fine. Mike Edwards with the elbow was limited participation. I believe SMB, no participation with the quad. But again, I'm not too worried. As long as we have Carlton and Dean playing, I feel like we're really in good hands in the corners there, and that they can lock down these wide receivers. Because I think at that point, it's just pin our ears back, get after Kenny Pickett, trying to just force the rookie to see things he hasn't seen. No offense to the Bills' defense. They're not very exotic in terms of what, if you compare them to what Todd does, Todd Bowles. Mm-hmm. And so whether Todd decides to do that stupid zone scheme that sometimes he utilizes, or to just kind of play with the pieces up front and just kind of attack, which I feel like he will, because in the past I've seen him do that against good quarterbacks, let alone rookies. So I think the defense, again, the only thing I'm concerned about is if the Steelers take the approach of keeping it out of Pickett's hands and running the ball to try to kind of expose what I think is our weakness right now, which is stopping the run. But maybe, like you said, they have a little bit of pride, chip on their shoulder. Maybe Devin said what he said as an excuse, but also maybe to have it backfire, have his own guys kind of get fired. I don't know. There's sometimes shit that we don't know about, but I know a coach doesn't hear that and says, hey, Devin, let me talk to you for a second. Right. What the fuck was that? And then maybe they
you're bored back there, my dude.
Like did he create his own bulletin board material for his own teammates? Like maybe that's what's happening, right? Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant type of mindset. Who knows? But I can see them kind of like taking it personal at this point, that we have to fucking stop the run, whether Akeem is there, whether Sue is there, it doesn't fucking. We have to stop the run. We have to start up front and do that part, and then make this rookie beat us, which they have to feel confident it won't happen, right? So, I'm not worried about the defense, other than that possibility, that slim possibility, that they could try to expose our weakness with their running game. Which again, I don't know if they even have a running game at this point, because
I haven't seen much of anything really. I will say this: maybe they catch the Bucs off guard for the first couple of drives, and then all of a sudden the adjustment turns into straight destruction crew for this Bucs defense. But I agree with you. This could be a huge advantage for this pass rush. And a big part of it is the fact that Vita Vea, I mean, this guy got his money and just kind of took his foot off the gas a little bit. We finally saw a little bit of the little engine that could from him on Sunday, but he needs to be a way more dominant presence on that line, as he used to be. With or without Akeem Hicks. I think that when Akeem Hicks went out, and maybe something that's a humbling point for this team to build off of and adjust, is people didn't realize how effective Hicks really was there in that centerpiece. So I think that maybe this is a humbling experience for them. It kind of helps these guys realize how much they need to step up. Vita Vea has to turn back into that just driven motor that eats up guys on the line. And then Logan Hall, I mean, he's starting to come into his own here. So this could be another game. Hopefully he gets his third career sack. That would be great to see. So everybody has something worth playing for that just elevates this. And this is a team that you could really abuse that. And I would hope that they would do that. I just wouldn't completely underestimate some flashy moments. That's probably not even the right word to use, but some little sparkling moments for Kenny Pickett and Jaylen Warren. The biggest thing, if this team comes in thinking, oh, it's just the Steelers, they're a complete dumpster fire right now, no big deal, is that Claypool, while it's only his third season, the former Notre Dame guy is supposed to be having a much bigger season than he is. I think right now, reception-wise, he's at 16 receptions, 129 yards, 0 touchdowns. Again, desperation. He's going to be desperate to find that end zone. He's going to be desperate to stack up and show that he's supposed to be a better receiver in this league. So very winnable game. A huge opportunity for them to show how dominant they actually are, and that this talent on this roster is not washed, cooked, or all the other terms that just pop out after every game. But they definitely can't go in there thinking that it's going to be handed to them, and they can't go in there and not play 4 quarters. And that's the disturbing part with the Falcons.
Well, the thing about Vita that I've noticed, I think he doesn't do well with the heat. Honestly, even early in his career, he struggled with it. He said so in his first training camp, even his second training camp. And Stank, for whatever reason, thinks that he looks like he's thinner. He's not eating well enough. So we've been sending Uber Eats to his house all week this week, in hopes of him not turning down free food. So I mean, who's going to say no to free tacos and wings and things of that nature? So
he needs to just do what my ex did: protein scoops and Gatorade, and just drink 5 of those.
I just think he gets tired, honestly. And without a guy next to him that forces the offensive line to not double team him and kind of pick their poison as to who they're going to double, there's times that he's triple teamed. And at that point, you're like, I mean, he's going to get gassed. You could see him kind of just standing up and just pushing with his arms sometimes. You're like, he gets tired. And I think not having a guy next to him who can kind of absorb some of that, and not only the physical attributes, the attention of an offensive line, I think that kind of bears a little bit more weight on him than it has in the past. And that's maybe what he's struggling with. But now we're going up to Pittsburgh. It's going to be like fucking 40-something degrees there. It's going to be cooler. He's still going to be sweating. So it'll be like a nice, like playing in the fucking basketball gym with
comfortable
the
68 in the body.
Yeah, he'll be fine. And I think maybe he played at Washington. This is kind of the same weather he had in college. So I expect him to play well because, one, he has a captain C on his jersey this season, right? It's different. And he knows that he didn't play well. He said so after the Chiefs game, I believe. And then we saw him last week come up with a sack, have a couple pressures, get in the face of the quarterback and push that line. Although it is the Falcons, it's still, NFL guys. I expect him to do that and kind of continue doing that, trying to carry a little bit of that load for his team. But going back to that run defense, I forgot to mention one thing. They're in the position to make the tackles. So a lot of it is just the will to do it and wanting.
Wrap up.
Yeah, you mentioned wrap up, exactly. So I think that maybe this is that game where they're going to be ultra focused on it, and I'm just really confident. In years past, when we go to the Steelers, it's Mike Tomlin. Doesn't matter what his team looks like on paper. They somehow fucking find ways to win. They always compete. They try to get the most out of those guys, and most of the time they do. But I think they're just too riddled with injuries. They're too young at this point. The Bucs should be able to go in there and just have some fun.
A heyday.
Have some fucking fun. That should be what they say the entire flight. Have some fun. Have some fun. Have some fucking fun. Just have some
That's
fucking
Winfield's
fun.
line for sure. Every interview. I just love football and it's so much fun. And I just go out there and try to have fun. You can ask him the most analytical, in-depth statistical question and it's fun. And I almost
guys.
At this point just love that for him.
I love
That's
those
how
guys
I want to address life.
Love those guys that just love ball, dude. And he loves ball. You could see him. He's making plays. He's having it's like he's not even having to think anymore as how quickly he's developed. Even from when he was a rookie, his dad has put him in such a good position mentally to be ready to play at this level. It's crazy. And I
wonder what that household was like.
He says it was awesome. It was fun. It was like his dad didn't make it seem like it was a job, and so he learned so much because of that. I want to see Devin have a little bit more fun out there and maybe stop thinking, because when he thinks, I feel like that's a detriment to him. Not to say he's not smart. It's just one of those things where you kind of just got to let your instincts play. And same goes for Levante. Maybe they're trying to pick up that slack of the run game, and sometimes focusing on something like that can take away other aspects of your game. But
well, him being in a contract year too is probably some unspoken stress, if you will, because part of this, at least some of the things that I thought I was seeing in training camp, is I was like, holy shit, the Bash Bros are back. Like, we're going to see the dynamic duo come out here and just have their way with people. And you saw Devin kind of do it. I definitely agree with you on the fact that he starts overthinking things, and that's what forces mistakes. And coming into this season in training camp, he addressed that. He took accountability for it. He said he's going to be more strategic with the way that he plays. He's going to be, more intuitive and just let it rip when he's supposed to, reel it in when he's supposed to. He sounded like he had a plan of attack here, and he started with it. Yeah, I think he just kind of veered from it. So you're right. He probably started getting in his head, overthinking too much. And this is not a team where this is a team where he should confidently go in and just be an intuitive player. Just follow the vibe and make him pay for it. And Levante David, he's silently a part of everything, but I think that he can even play a little bigger, especially in a contract year. But that could be a silent stress, as I just mentioned, where he's not, coming out as dominant, if you will. Something else that, and I'm glad that you mentioned this with Vita Vea, we'll look out for the weather situation. I will literally die if he goes and has the game of his life because he's not burning at 83 degrees.
83.
At that point, the team used to hire you as a consultant of some sense. But
I know big guys like that cold weather. They're not wearing sleeves. Like, shit, dude, I could sweat and cool down at the exact same time. Like, give me
sweat and cool down.
Yeah, that's perfect, dude.
But you did make a good point with the Falcons. One thing I will say or note is that him starting to come to life a little more versus the Falcons. The Falcons have one of the best, a couple guys that are kind of top charts of PFF if you guys are into that kind of stuff. But then when it comes to their guard, Chris Lindstrom, I believe his name is, he's the top guard in the league right now. So he was still playing against pretty decent guys along the offensive line with the Falcons. So it was a good starting point for him to start to revive a little bit without having that extra help on the line. I'll give you that. And then hopefully the weather, we just see this massive Vita Vea resurrection. Somebody that I think that can come to life versus the Steelers for some reason, and it's just looking at the outside of this offensive line that they have, is that you look at your two long guys. You've got Anthony Nelson and Carl Nassib, who, have that reach. They have so much body that they have to work through, but they started to really kind of find a groove and a confidence, especially Nelson. So if everybody can just kind of get in on the action there, and there's no reason that they can't, Shaq, Nelson, Nassib, JTS, they start setting that tone, and that's a tone they can set very early versus this rookie quarterback in this offense. Then I think that the defense will just go ham with it. And that's
this game reminds
what
me
we need to see.
This game reminds me a lot of last year's Washington game, where it felt like this team can't possibly beat the Bucs, right? They go in there, they maybe play down to their opponent, take them a little bit lightly. I don't remember what the injury situation was in that game. Maybe they were only down to one wide receiver and Mike Evans. I don't remember, but it feels a little bit like that, where it's like you're going against a team that, like, I think maybe having gone through that last year and even a little bit this year, they hunker down, lack of a better term, and just kind of hammer away at this team. And, like, we cannot let this team even have.
You follow up hunker down with hammer, and
I'm just trying to do my best here, right? So I feel like this is where they, like you said, just get out early and don't give them a chance. They are a Mike Tomlin coach team. I've said that probably 6 times tonight. But that's a big fucking thing, man. Like, that guy gets the most out of his dudes. They fucking love him. They respect him. And
so much.
And they don't go out there and loaf. It's not something that's allowed on that team or in that locker room, regardless of who's starting quarterback and who's not. And so you can't allow them to have any sort of life. You saw them week 1 against the Bengals. They looked like they were going to win that game, and you still knew kind of the Bengals could just wake up a little bit. They could fucking win this game. It was one of those things where they were given a chance to shine, and they took it. So the Bucs can't do that. Of course, this is Tom Brady. He understands all that. I just, I see it. I see confidence coming from this team, and this is kind of something that we can create a little bit of a roller coaster effect with. If we start well and we roll through this, we have a really easy game after that against, not easy, but you have an opponent that you should be able to beat.
Another dumpster fire opponent.
Yeah, you want to be rolling, through these games like that, especially going into a game against the Ravens in 3 weeks. Kasey, last time you were here, we didn't have this cool new little fucking feature that we have. We call it Major Keys. So when we preview these games, we have our Major Keys, and one of our Major Keys. So you have to give us your Major Keys for this for the Bucs victory this Sunday. I hope you have your notes, or you know what the fuck you're going to talk about, right?
No, never do.
Fucking sad. Major Keys. All right, you are up. I want to hear what you have to say in terms of what the Bucs need to do to win this Sunday. Get the fucking demons away. Make it all work. Get that roller coaster going. Whatever you want to call it. Go ahead.
It's October. Let's get the exorcisms going. First major key, all caps, tight ends. Get your tight ends more involved.
Love that.
Use K. Dotton. Start getting his confidence to skyrocket that much more. Help him build off of the successful things that he did do versus the Falcons. Teach this kid how to have control and conduct the middle of that field, and you're going to be off to a real nice start. Look, Cameron Brate, even though one of the biggest accomplishments that he's had over the last few weeks is drawing him quality penalties, or clutch penalties, as I like to call them, because they ended up translating into something pretty decent for the most part. you can kind of use him on those underneath passes here and there, and he's going to be back, and he likes to play ball. And he's been a guy who, when we had the Jameis Winston era, he was the go-to guy. So I think rotating him in along with K. Dotton and use Keith, or Co, as you call him, KO, in the red zone. I'm telling you, I have a good feeling about this. I have a hunch about it. Use Keith in the red zone and see if he can help you guys, I don't know, find success there, besides using Mike Evans in the corners here and trying to pinch hit it with these weird things that don't successfully translate out. So tight ends is my first major key. Use them, trust them. I want to see a lot more action from them. I know last year when I first ever talked to John Ledyard, I was like 12 personnel is what I want to see all day long. And while I somewhat made a good case for it versus the Cowboys, it just hasn't been much of a thing with this team. And I do have my understanding as to why, but I like these rookies. Cameron Brate's enough of a vet. I was expecting a lot more out of Kyle Rudolph, but I still want to see a lot more tight end action on this roster.
Love that.
Do I go to my next key?
Oh yeah, go ahead. All three of your keys are on screen, and you use the word tight ends like 3 times, so great job.
Tight ends. Key 2, major key number 2. You're gonna hate this one, but whatever. A balanced attack. Run, pass, run, pass. Just don't get so predictable. If anything, I really just want them to use this game. You said it perfectly. Experiment a little bit, get creative, try some new things, see what you really have out of these players that are, at 80%, at 60%, or young, and then build off of this, because you have another team that's not going to really make you pay for too many mistakes, and you can build off of that, see how realistic those options are, and then kind of have a real attack versus the Ravens, who's a hugely dominant team right now. So balanced attack is my key to switch it up just a little bit, get more creative, get more experimental, as you said. And then major key 3, defense has to show up for all 4 quarters. If they don't, and I'm so glad that you mentioned it, then again, I have a little bit of PTSD. If this defense does not show up for 4 quarters, we're looking at a Washington Commanders game all over again, and I can't do it. I won't do it.
Nobody wants to do that. Trust me. That was a horrible feeling. that was the worst game of the season for me last year.
The worst part about it was doing a whole pregame rundown of how the Bucs are just going to obliterate this team, and then the first quarter happens and your jaw is sitting on your chest. Second quarter, it's just, what the hell am I watching here? Third quarter, fourth quarter, and then when you saw the final score, it just felt.
What about
I
the final drive?
Acid.
What about the final? It was like 18 plays. When we needed one stop to win, just to get the ball back, 18 fucking plays, and they run the clock out. And you're like, oh, cool. I guess we're not going to win this game somehow.
Yeah. At that point, they just threw in the towel.
They gave the ball back with 8 minutes, and we didn't touch it after that. I'm like, what? How the fuck does that happen? And they didn't score.
No, at that point, it was just, why not? Why not just give it to them? I think they just wanted to say that they did something for them in that game versus them just completely coming in and owning them. So in order to avoid another Commanders situation, this defense has to play 4 quarters.
Why do you call them the Commanders?
I don't know, because whatever they call themselves is just horrendous. Commanders sounds more fun.
Commanders does not sound. It sounds like a Vegas Strip like show. The come watch the Commanders.
Let your mind go where it goes. They're not any good. So until they do something better, that's when they'll become. The Commanders is such a name, if you will. They're not playing like that.
I mean, it's not a good name. I just didn't understand why you're calling them the Commanders.
It's been since they decided to change the thing. I don't know what you guys will figure out about me if I'm ever welcome onto this show again, is that I don't like pronouncing people's names. I'll give you a nickname before I actually learn your name. I'll say your name wrong 1,000 times and convince you that it is your name. And
listen, I had a who was it? There's some kid in high school. I didn't know his name, but he looked like a Steve. So I called him Steve from like the 3rd day of my freshman year until we graduated. And he was like, he would always correct me. He's like, that's not my name. My name is whatever the fuck he was. And I would just call him Steve. And it got to the point where I didn't even realize that it was no longer his name after like the first year. So I just called him Steve forever. And then I had other people started calling him Steve because they would hear me calling him Steve and they would think that was his actual name. So that's awesome. You should give Stank.
See, I did that too. I did that too. Mine might be a little bit more offensive. You guys forgive me. I was never a bully in high school. I love humans. even though I don't want to deal with people 24/7. I love humans. But there was this girl at my school, and her name was definitely Iman with an N. And I called her Emu, and it wasn't on purpose. It's just what I thought I heard in your face.
Wow.
Her,
that's definitely
I
an
don't
Arab
know.
name, by the way. That's an Arab name. So there's one. You got that one in. Go ahead.
Sorry, Lo Siento. But I don't know what I heard.
Emu?
And that's
Was she emu-like at least? I mean,
no, she's beautiful. She's great.
so you just look
but
like a
she let me call her that
So you look
for
like a jealous,
years.
You look like a jealous mean girl. That's what.
I was not a jealous mean girl. I was the girl who no, honestly, if I was to describe my high school experience, it would sound so cliche and I absolutely hate it. But I was not a mean girl. I was nice enough to open my home to let people come over and party safely and then go about their merry little way if they could, or everybody would sleep in the front room. You know, no drunk driving. Kids, don't do it. But for years, she would let me call her that. Huh?
Except for Emu. Or was
I didn't
Emu
send
also
Emu home.
Was Emu welcome to stay as well?
She was, especially because she let me call her Emu for 2 years straight. Never corrected me. I didn't find out until I was like a sophomore in college, when I think we were having all the younger kids come visit us because that was the cool thing to do. And somebody was like, Iman's coming. And I'm like, who the hell is Iman? And they're like, Kasey, she's been at your house for years and stuff. And I was like, no girl named Iman has ever walked through my door. And then she walks through the door and they're like, hey, Iman. And I'm like, this is terrible. This is so bad.
But
so
see, you unknowingly called her that, though. That's the thing. I called Steve forever, and Steve would kind of correct me, but it was
so who's
so,
the
like,
bully now?
I wasn't bullying. He looked like a Steve. His parents did him a disservice in naming him incorrectly. You know how you see a kid like, yeah, kid looks like a fucking Jessica. She looks like a Jessica. There it is, yeah. But sometimes they don't. And so he looked like a Steve. I didn't know his name day one. And
I want to see this guy.
If
Do I look like a Kasey?
You look like Kasey, yeah. I would have told you otherwise. I would have just given you
Okay.
different lower thirds. But I mean, like he looked like a Steve. It fit right. Everyone else agreed, by the way. When I took polls and whatnot, everyone else agreed. So I just stuck with
No,
it.
you did
His
not
name
take
was
a
Steve.
poll.
And he would timidly correct me maybe once every 12, 13 times. So it was like, at what point are like, you don't even care about your own name either, dude. If you call me Ted, that's not my fucking name. You would say something loudly about it, right? But whatever. I think it's time for me to give my major keys, right? We haven't done that at all.
You didn't do like a DJ Khaled voiceover intro?
No, because I don't think I'm allowed to. But I could do my major keys in my DJ Khaled impression if I absolutely have to, honestly.
I'd appreciate that.
Oh, wow. I guess I could then. All right, so for my major keys, the Buccaneers, you know what I'm saying? We got to force turnovers, you know what I mean? We got to go in there, go to Pittsburgh, you know, hey, I love the black and yellow, you know, dope-ass song, you know what I mean? But we got to force turnovers. We got to go in there and get Kenny Pickett to throw picks, you know what I mean? And that's how we do it, you know, and another one, and, you know, those things are infectious. Now, second key point, or major key, get exotic up front. I'm not doing that the whole fucking time. All right, get exotic.
I'm like, you're going to lose your voice. That was great, though.
Thank you. So the Bucs, I expect the Bucs to get exotic up front. And when I say get exotic, I mean fucking just send the kitchen sink at this motherfucker. Have everybody standing up at one point. Don't let him even understand who's coming, who's dropping, who's not. Like, make it confusing for this rookie. He's in his second start ever at the NFL level. He's not going to be prepared for this. I don't care how much tape he watches. He will not be prepared to see the pandemonium that a Todd Bowles type of defense or even a Bill Belichick type of defense would expose him to in terms of the exotic fronts, the way guys are moving around. So I expect Todd to do that. I expect Todd to come in as that with that game plan and make him make tight throws off of that or make decisions, eat the ball, try to run. More than likely, he's a young quarterback. He's going to try to use his feet. We just got to wrap him up and take care of that. Get exotic. It's the biggest. Probably should have been my first key, but I really like turnovers. And so it's my second key. But third key, offensive production, aside from points, let me see some explosive fucking plays. I haven't seen splashes. We kind of saw an attempt of some of that with Scotty Miller deep shots. Yeah, we saw them take some shots to Scotty, which we hadn't done really throughout the season. Let me see some explosion. Let me see some shots down the field with Mike. Let me see some shots down the field with Chris. Use the talent. And maybe that kind of plays in tune with one of your keys, which was, get that offense going and start to have a little bit of fun and experiment. Do that. Get a healthy lead and start to not empty the playbook, but have a little bit of fun and try to create chunks, because we haven't gotten chunks really aside from a handful of plays, and we're in week 6 now, we're in week 6 now, and we probably can count these chunk plays on one hand and not even use all 5 fingers. So that's a big key for me is let's get those chunks, man. Let's get down the field quickly and kind of start to wake up as an offense, which I kind of was hoping we would have done against the Falcons, but that 3 and outs, maybe Chris Godwin not being on the field and having his snap count, maybe that affected things because he is the engine there. But I think the biggest thing for me is get exotic, get after this team, and force them to be perfect. And doing that to a rookie quarterback is not something that usually pans out very well in his favor. Now, I know some Bucs fans are going to say, hey, Sammer, remember, like Stanker would think, we don't do well against rookie quarterbacks. We don't do well against backups showing up when they have to. Like, hold on with the fucking PTSD. Take a deep breath. This is Todd Bowles. It's not 1995. This is not, when we had meltdowns after our first Super. Like, calm down. I feel like we're in good hands with Todd Bowles.
Don't hit the panic button yet.
We're in good hands with Todd Bowles. Let him go out there and just beat the fuck out of this rookie. Because, I mean, I'm not trying to say hurt him, but that's just what happens in the NFL when you're a rookie quarterback. You get your ass beat sometimes. Even Mac Jones went through it, and he was. People thought he did really, really well, but they had games where he didn't even fucking throw the ball one game. I think he threw one time, and they won the game, but he got his ass handed to him multiple times. So those are my major keys. Yours are pretty spot on too. Next time, I expect you to do yours in the DJ Khaled voice, though.
I'll have to practice that one, that's for sure. I will do it for Loose Cannons because it sounds like you guys will have me back regardless of what I've done here.
Well, listen, people have seen your lower thirds all night when I go to the solo shot, okay? And it says that you...
What did you have there?
Well, here, I'll pull you up on screen. It says Bucs/Bolts Reporter. This is eats wings with a fork, okay? So... The people who are new here, I have to ask you this because I care about you. I need to know, are you still eating wings with a fork?
What did you guys think? You traumatized me enough to change my ways?
I was trying to bully you out of it. Yes, absolutely. We did you not see the response? How many people on Twitter attacked you after that show?
First of all, I will say y'all wreaked a bit of havoc in my life because not only did Twitter come for me, but that sentence alone of how I eat wings came up in every sentence for at least 2 weeks straight. I mean, I had a spot on WDAE and I'm thinking that I'm in the clear. It was almost a week after the show with you guys. And as we're wrapping up, good to go, all of a sudden it's, so Kasey here, I'm on your Twitter and I see that like, can you explain to us how you eat wings? And I was like, you gotta be shitting me. Like, how did this even?
Who asked you? What show? I have to
freaking
know.
Pat Donovan.
Oh,
Pat and Aaron.
Okay.
They pulled it up on Twitter last minute. Talk about a Hail Mary conversation. I thought we had 45 seconds left until we were wrapped up and heading to commercial.
I'm glad they embarrassed you. I want you to feel ashamed of the way you eat wings. Because that's not that's not how an adult should eat wings. That's not how anyone should eat wings. With a fucking fork? That's ridiculous.
If you want to keep your shit clean, you eat with a fork so that you're not running around with these crusty, sticky hands. And I still get all the meat off my bone. It's almost just more strategic way of eating wings. And if you thought you embarrassed me out of Tampa with that conversation, I told you I would gladly come on the show and show everybody how to enjoy wings with a fork.
Are you going to be in Pittsburgh?
No, I'm not going to be in Pittsburgh.
Okay. So
you're going to embarrass me in Pittsburgh?
No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you come out to one of our watch parties, which, by the way, happens at Penthouse in Tampa.
I've been to a strip club.
I'm just letting you know where it happens. All right, I'm not wanting you to be like showing up all surprised.
I'm the coolest girlfriend in the world because I took my ex for his 21st birthday, and it was just because he was 21, and my sister and her friends were there on a prank. And that's how I celebrated my ex's 21st in a strip club, for crying out loud.
That's cool. I just didn't want to give you the address when we invite you to come out, and you're like, oh, it's just a fucking gentleman's club? What? Like, I don't want to surprise you. So that's where they go down, okay?
She eats wings with a fork, and she's a no-show.
We're going to have you eat wings in front of us, all right? And we're going to have you show us how you do it with a fork so we can all laugh at how retarded that is. And then we will take the fork away, and we're going to teach you the proper way to eat wings.
Or
no,
I get you guys to try it with a fork.
Absolutely not. Listen, I'm a huge fan of utensils, like gigantic fan of utensils. Like If I can eat without using my hands, I'm all in. But burgers, wings, pizza, things of that nature, they have to go through your hands in order for them to taste good.
Can I cut my burger in half?
It depends if the burger is just too massive to hold and like actually get a firm like mouth around, then yeah, that's fine. But other than that, no. You're not cutting just any burger just to fucking cut a burger. Like don't you're crossing lines. There's sanctity to certain things. And
okay, so let me ask you this.
You can't do that.
This feels like it's in the same ballpark. When you're eating a meal, when you're enjoying your food, do you ever feel weird if you don't have a perfect last bite?
I tend to work my eating into developing a perfect last bite. Yes, I will say
strategy. That's what I'm doing with my wings.
No, you can do that all in one bite, by the way. A wing, it can be a perfect one bite. That's simple, and especially the
when
fucking
I strip
flats.
it from the thing, I see perfectly like, oh yeah, this is a good bite.
No, you take a flat, you stand it up, you push it down, turns into a drum. Fucking put that shit in your mouth, you pull it out, you're left with nothing but wings and maybe a little bit of cartilage if you don't have sharp enough teeth. Perfect fucking bite. Perfect first bite, perfect last bite, all in one bite. No fucking fork needed. And I'm telling you right now, the fork you're using at Penthouse will come from your own home because there will be no utensils at our watch parties.
So you just try to con me into not even properly showing you guys how to eat with a freaking fork.
That's
fine.
No, it's not.
I will bring my own fork and I'll bring a backup so that you guys can try it too.
I will throw your fork into fucking whatever that road is right in front of Penthouse. This is like, so now everyone in the chat who didn't know now knows that Kasey eats her wings with a fucking fork. And I still don't even know how it works. Like, that's why I want to see it. I just got to see it.
You hold the freaking wing right here, fingertips only. You take the fork and you strip the meat. And then you take that chunk of meat. Okay, it's almost like crab. How do you eat crab? Do you bite it with your teeth, dip the whole shit in the butter, and then like suck it out?
I eat the entire leg. The fucking outer shell.
Shells and all.
Just like fucking beef jerky.
You're a serial killer.
I mean, how else? Any other way just requires utensils that make you look like a bitch. And so I'm not going to do it.
But you're over here swallowing shells. What are you trying to prove?
Listen, I was born in like 821 BC. All right.
Not only are you a serial killer, but you're trying to prove something here.
Listen, wait till I tell you how I brush my teeth or how I fucking eat cereal, all right? Then yeah, there is a little bit of, people have called me that before.
Wait, didn't you post something on Twitter once? There was a very questionable thing to post in regards to cereal.
I'm very firm that you pour milk first, cereal on top of that, and the ratio of milk to cereal can never exceed 1 to 2. Like it should be 2/3 cereal, 1/3 milk. So every bite is crunchy, not soggy.
No,
you're a fucking soggy cereal person, aren't you?
No, I think putting the milk
or
in
do you
first
eat
makes
cereal
it soggy.
with a fork, Kasey? Do you eat cereal with a fork?
Yo, if the dishes aren't done and I'm desperate, who knows what happens?
No, how can you say it's soggier when the milk is down first? When you pour milk secondary, it goes on all the fucking cereal.
Because I like to perfectly level out the milk ratio to the cereal. When you put shit on top and it's floating, you're not getting an accurate distribution.
If you know how to use a spoon, you do. Otherwise, you have the bottom half of your fucking bowl of cereal sitting inside milk the entire time. And so therefore you have to consciously
What are you doing?
You have to consciously deep sea dive into the bottom of the bowl every time you eat, and then you never get to experience the crunchiness on top because you're so worried about the bottom getting too soggy that you don't even pay attention to the ones on top. And as you're doing that, they're sinking and getting soggy. Next thing you know, you've eaten an entire bowl of cereal completely sogged up.
All I learned about you just now is that you eat slower than me, because how in the world is your cereal getting that soggy if you're pouring the freaking bowl?
It's literally sitting in it. It's sitting in it.
I don't agree. I think that's another serial killer tendency. I don't know many people that would say milk over cereal first. And I'm pretty sure that when you tweeted that, it wasn't in your favor.
I don't give a fuck. I'm right. Listen, people called Einstein a fucking crazy person. People thought, what's his name?
The Pisces like me,
Newton.
So we're good.
They thought Newton was out of his fucking mind. Guy was fucking right. Come on, Einstein was fucking right. So, you know what? I will go ahead and I'll fall on that sword. That's fine. Don't agree with me. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. I eat cereal the proper way. I eat cereal the correct way.
Same here. me and wings. And I'm happy to teach you guys at the penthouse during your watch party on the next little hangout here. We missed Poppy Latte.
Listen.
I haven't got a chance to really meet Stank yet, but that freaked me out because he runs everywhere barefoot. And I think he's a UF fan. So any hope of us being friends just really.
Yeah, he's kind of like, we call him our Make-A-Wish Foundation kid on the show. He just stumbled into being a co-host somehow.
I just stopped trying to drink anything when you're speaking. No hydration here, folks.
All right, Kasey, it was a great fucking show. Let the people know where they can find you, where they can read all of your great thoughts and ideas and film breakdown and all the stuff that you do, not only for the Bucs, but for the Bolts, which I recently learned, I guess hockey is your first love as opposed to football, which
and John Ledyard exposed me. I've kept that a secret for years.
Yeah,
but cat's out of the bag. Yes. As much as I love football and anyone who follows me and has heard me talk about it, and you guys just now, I love football. Football is up my heart and soul, but hockey tops it by just a smidge. And the reason behind that is just because football growing up, I literally had the story of Blindside, if you will. There was this kid at my school. We knew each other through Little League. He went through a bit of a home situation. Long story short, we ended up adopting him, and it was the best thing ever. Me and my sisters always wanted a brother, and instead of them beating up on me, then they got to have fun beating up on each other. And then I was tortured and forced to watch ESPN and then read my brother's playbook to him. So that's how football even started for me at 14. And then he was playing at FSU. I would go visit him every single weekend or fly out to catch his games at FSU. And then he was with the Seahawks for a quick second before blowing out his knee. So I love how football came into my life. But hockey, I ended up filling in for somebody that couldn't cover the gig to go see the Bolts and do a write-up on them. And in that, I realized, holy crap, this game has got a lot going on, a lot of statistics. I'm a very analytical person. So it took me weeks to study, read, cross-reference, to learn anything to say like maybe 2 correct sentences out of all the things that you have to say about hockey. So hockey's mine because I had to self-learn. I had to spend so much time diving into it and to kind of get where I'm at now. And there's still so much room to grow and learn in this sport for sure. But to be where I am now in the time frame that I've dedicated to hockey, I'm so in love with it. And they let them fight. When the commentators start talking about the guy's right hook, left hook, and how he's got him pinned against the boards, that's very exciting for me. So love hockey. With what you said, where you guys can find me. Initially, when I first came on the show, you know that you guys can find me over at Pewter Report. I handle most of the social media. Any cool graphics you see over there is me. I do some game day analysis with Matt Matera. He is awesome. And all the guys over there love Pewter Report. Those are my dudes, if you will. And then recently I got 2 shows with Odyssey, Odyssey Sports being underneath Odyssey. We have Jolly Rogers and Touchdowns, where I get to talk Bucs with Kaylee Mizell. And then now our first episode launched this morning, actually, Pucks and Bolts, where now we are doing full coverage of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that is also with Kaylee Mizell, who used to be the Bally Sports reporter and work closely with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So a lot of different things going on. And if you guys are into betting, then I have the Sunday spread with Alex Gold and Grant Paulson, Saturday nights at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on BetQL Network, sponsored by BetMGM. So we're way cooler than DraftKings, FanDuel. Go check it out.
I mean, I'm a big fan of FanDuel, but hey, wow, you have a lot of shit going on.
I have a lot. That was long-winded. I realized I was
like a show every single night, basically. So if you guys want to watch Kasey every single night of the week, she just listed out how to do that. I'm not going to type it all out. You guys can listen to this over and over again. I'm sure Kasey tweets about it too, so find her on Twitter.
I do.
I don't think you gave your Twitter handle. I didn't put that in your lower thirds. No offense.
No, it's at, and geez, I should have fixed my bars there. At the Sports Case, KASE.
Solid.
So it's not too crazy.
All right.
It's fun.
Before we close it out, because we will not have a Fan Friday show. We will not have a show for the rest of this week, guys, because we will be in Pittsburgh. So Kasey and I will give our score predictions and which quarter the Thunder Thighs quarterback will come into the game, which I'm assuming you know who I'm talking about.
Thunder Thighs. Yeah, you guys' favorite human in competition with Scott Reynolds.
He stole it from us, just an FYI. We had that first. But, that's not going to... That's why I haven't invited him on here. This is because I am still upset that he stole the Thunder Thighs love from us. It's our thing.
This is a battle of who loves Blade more?
Absolutely. So our thing
even
on the show
post
here,
haircut, he doesn't have the mullet anymore. Do we still love Blaine?
Does he still have the thighs, Kasey? He does.
Yes, he does.
So on this show, we give our score prediction and then we predict which quarter Thunder Thighs will trot his fucking fine ass out there to take snaps from center. All right. So go ahead, give me your score prediction in the format that is required on this show.
In the format that is required on said show, I'm gonna go with not me doing math over here. So okay, 34-17 Bucs.
What? That's terrible. How they give up 17 points? When does Thunder Thighs come in? That's all we care about.
Oh, Thunder Thighs is coming in halfway through the fourth quarter.
Halfway through the fourth quarter? What a fucking gotta make the guy wait. I disagree with you. I think this is a 42-7 shellacking of the fucking Pittsburgh Steelers. No offense to Mike Tomlin, who I fucking absolutely love, by the way, as a head coach. He is
not getting
awesome.
my hopes up.
But
his
Blaine
face
Gabbert's
on the sideline, though, that says a lot. That's kind of nerve-wracking.
Blaine's coming out of halftime as QB1.
Halftime?
Damn right. Tom Brady and the boys can
Halftime.
take a break. He'll take a few snaps from Bob Hennessy right up in front there, hand it off to Lenny, hand it off to Rashad, throw a couple of touchdowns to add to the fucking score.
A team that hasn't played full 4 quarters of football, you think is going to pivot at halftime?
Hey, listen, we're going to wake the fuck up.
Maybe halfway through the third quarter.
We are waking the fuck up this week, Case. Enough is enough. No more hot weather. No more fucking chafing on the thighs and under the boobs for Mr. Vita Vea. No offense, Vita. I love you, man. He's going to be so fucking cool
on your body
and so fucking happy out there. He's just going to fucking wreak havoc, and the defense is going to feed off of it. It's going to be amazing. See another 6-7 sack game. Love games with a lot of sacks. Love them.
They have no business not topping 5 sacks. I agree.
All right. So, before we go, real quick, guys in the chat, there is no watch party this weekend since we are out of town. I felt that it would not be as pleasurable, believe it or not, without us at Penthouse with you all
No
to watch the
Frisky
game.
Friday?
Yeah, so we will be back at Penthouse, watch party, food, drinks, just like we always have, next week against the fucking ugly-ass Carolina Panthers. That'll be a load of fun. It's going to be awesome. You want to register ahead of time because if you don't, you will pay more at the door, and that's never good for anybody, okay? And second, completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh, Lindsay in the chat, who has been asking me the entire night about my beard.
What happened to your
beard? It is
beard?
not airbrushed, no. But yes, it takes a little bit of time, and I've been doing my own beard since I was like, I don't know, 13. And so I've just gotten a little bit good at it. Uses a lot of mirrors. And sometimes, well, I've only let one barber ever touch my beard, but most of the time it
You
just
do
takes...
look like your avatar, though, now thinking about it. That's slick.
This is pretty dirty, actually. It's not very clean cut right now, but it takes a lot of mirrors, Lindsay, and I'm not sure if you're a dude or a guy with your name Lindsay, but I'm pretty sure that's a guy's name at times because you have asked a lot about my beard, and you said you wish you had a beard like that at one point, so I will assume you're a dude. No offense.
It's gender neutral, believe it or not.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not doing the whole pronoun thing. Don't fucking go crazy, people. But yes, thank you. I appreciate the beard love. DJ Cal stole it from me. That's all I gotta say. All right, Kasey, thank you so much for hanging out, man. It was awesome.
Of course. I'm so glad that you guys had me back, and I hope to be back soon.
Once we fix your wing eating ways and your fucking fork nonsense, you will be welcomed all the time. Until then, you're just gonna have to, go eat your fucking soggy ass cereal with a fork.
I'm about to have some soup, actually.
Gross. Eat that with a fork. Hey, thank you so much for hanging out. Seriously.
Of course.
Hey, go Bucs.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 on a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throws.